Hello and welcome. My name is Rashim Mogha and I'm your host for this Empowered Women of the World podcast. This podcast is for you, it is for me, and it is for all women who want to take charge of their career and happiness. In this weekly podcast, we'll talk about technology, we will talk about leadership, and we will talk about mindfulness. We'll talk about how you can discover, visualize, and actualize your success, whatever that means to you. We will also talk about our common opponent, the conscious and unconscious bias which we deal with on daily basis, and we'll share ways to navigate work politics. At the end of each podcast, I will share with you a tip or a resource that you can use to be successful. It's going to be a fun ride, so hop on and join me on this journey every week. Today's podcast is another hugely requested topic, the Impostor Syndrome. I was on a mentoring panel at Chan Zuckerberg Initiative yesterday, and one of the mentees brought up how she felt like an imposter in her new job. And the moment she said that, you won't believe, all other mentees at the table said to me, I feel like an imposter too. Me too, I feel like an imposter too. And I wouldn't lie, I have suffered from imposter syndrome myself. Am I good enough? Am I faking it? Was it just pure luck that I'm successful? Now, imposter syndrome is that ugly little voice in us that tells us that we don't deserve the success. It holds us back from enjoying our success and accomplishments. And then you try to attribute your success to factors like luck or being at the right place at the right time instead of your talent and skill set. I remember when we launched my book Fast Track Your Leadership Career last September, and it was an Amazon bestseller hours after the release. Now my friends and co-workers and my publishers, they were all calling to congratulate me. And all I could say to them was, thanks, I think I got lucky today. I didn't know how to accept that success gracefully. I had worked really hard on the book. I knew it was good. But still, when it became the bestseller, I wanted to brush off that success. I felt like an imposter. So, how does one combat the imposter syndrome? Here are 4 tips that work for me. Now, the first one is that I remind myself that I'm not alone to feel this way. There are many people out there who suffer from imposter syndrome. And actually, many successful people, almost all successful people, suffer from imposter syndrome. There's a study out there that says more than 70% of the millennials today suffer from imposter syndrome. And just acknowledging the fact that I'm not alone makes me feel better. Sharing how you feel, about your success or how you feel about imposter syndrome with a friend or a trusted advisor in a safe environment also helps, because then these friends have the similar stories, and that makes you feel better because then you feel you're not alone. The second is to believe in yourself. It is typical to feel like an imposter when you join a new job or when you get promoted. You feel like others know so much more and you're faking in that new role. But when you think that, know that you are where you are because you're good at it. Remind yourself that there were probably hundreds of applicants for the position, but it was you who got the job. And that is a proof in itself that you're good and you have what it takes to be in that role. The third one is to remind yourself of all your successes. Now, this is one trick that always works for me. I remind myself of all my past successes, and then I tell myself, now these successes are not fake, they are real. It also can't be sheer luck all the time. Come on, I'm not that lucky. And that brings my confidence back. The fourth tip is you can't have all the answers all the time. Does that ever happen to you when someone uses a new word or a phrase or a concept and you go, what does that mean? And you don't know what it means and you feel like an imposter. I felt like an imposter when somebody, when people use a new terminology or ask me questions that I don't have all answers to. But I have to remind myself that it's okay if I don't have all those answers. Leaders don't have all answers. but they have the ability to tap into the resources to be able to find the answer. So now, if I'm not sure how to respond to the question, instead of feeling like an imposter in the situation, I confidently say, let me get back to you on this by tomorrow or in a couple of days. And then I make it a point to get back to the person with the answer per my commitment. This helps me maintain my credibility with the person, even if I don't have the answer handy when the question was asked, and I don't feel like an imposter. So next time that tiny little voice inside you tries to tell you that you're not good enough, use the tips that I shared with you and let me know if they work. And for today's tip, instead of a resource, I have some food for thought for you. It's a quote from famous author and civil rights activist Maya Angelou. She says, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, they're going to find me out now. And each time I read this quote, it reminds me that I'm not alone who feels like an imposter at times. And even the most successful people like Maya Angelou have felt like an imposter at some point in their life. I will leave you with that thought. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for loving, liking, supporting, and sharing the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. I love your feedback, emails, and messages, so please keep them coming. Our audience is growing exponentially each week, and I'm thankful to you for your continued support. We have a lot of requests for new topics, which is awesome, and I'm loving all the emails and the feedback that comes in. I look forward to seeing you again in our next podcast. Till then, keep empowering the world.